Hello everybody, welcome back to another check-in. It has been 2 weeks and by gosh, 2 weeks has absolutely flown. Someone who's listening who's probably been following along and is a similar age to me or maybe a bit older. Is it just me or does time travel faster as we get older? I just feel like I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, another week is gone. It's crazy. We're almost at Christmas, but the last 2 weeks have been super fun filled. Lots of things going on over here at Be Your Body. We have just kicked off a new challenge, which is the Slay the Holidays program. So that's a 6-week challenge that'll take us right through to just before Christmas. So if you are interested in joining that challenge, it is only $59. You'll get access to at-home and gym-based programs, an educational guide, weekly Q&As, and an amazing community. I have had so much fun in our last 6-week challenge. I don't think I've ever been part of such a vibrant and communicative group of women and men actually. So if you want to join, there is still time. 6 weeks, Slay the Holidays. If you go and look my name up and type in Solon, that's the program or the partner that we have been collaborating with to do these, you should still be able to find that program. I'll probably drop a link in the description below as well. Oh goodness, the last week we've been trying to finalize, print copies of my book, The Complete Exercise Guide to Muscle Hypertrophy. So I know some of you, and probably like me, like a physical book product. So if you're going to read something, you want to have it in your hand, you know what I'm saying? So I have had for the last 12 months the PDF or ebook of that particular educational book, so the Complete Exercise Guide to Muscle Hypertrophy, and that's going to be coming out as a print form for the Black Friday through Cyber Monday sales, which is so exciting. I'm really excited. I've had a couple of print versions of books in the past, but they're so expensive to produce. So it's actually really fortunate that I've been able to do that this year. So I'm really excited because I know there were so many folks that had been asking, Holly, are you going to do a print copy? Because I'm not doing the PDF. I like a physical book in hand. So for those folks, yes, I'm so excited. So that's been going on this past week. We had to do a couple of format changes and things to kind of get it ready. But my goodness, so much good food has been consumed, some fun cocktails. I think Sam has become a whiskey connoisseur over the last 2 years that I've known him. So it's been funny actually. I guess when we first got together, he did not like whiskey at all. And I remember we would joke because we'd go out to dinners together and we would order a drink. His had always come out and it would be the flamboyant, hot pink, beverage or something. And I would order an old fashioned or I don't know, something that was just, our drinks look like they should have been the other way around. So if we would ever take photos together, I'm like, do you want my drink? And I would always hold the girly one. But anyway, he now has a complete collection of whiskeys, and it's been fun for me too to kind of, I guess, join in that experience. So we have probably 30 different whiskeys, and you only sip them. You don't go and get blitzed or anything like that. I don't think that would work with my job and what I do, but it's been really fun. So this past weekend we actually did a blind tasting, which is really cool. And I guess both of us have gotten a lot better at discerning different notes and flavors. I can immediately tell now if something is really 100 proof or more because it is so strong. So immediately I'm nope, I don't like it. That's this brand. I don't like it. So yeah, we did that over the weekend. That was really cool. But lots of good food. I think we've been making, we've been on a pizza kick lately. So I've been doing homemade pizzas, and I made my very first, and you got to look at this picture, stuffed Kratz mozzarella, everything pizza. So I had turkey, a turkey breast, the deli turkey breast, the uncured kind. And then on the other half, I think I did pepperonis, real mozzarella cheese. Oh my God, it was just so delicious, so fluffy, and so easy. So I might be able to put some of those ingredients up, or at least the recipes in the description for you, or a link to get it, and the macros for those of you that still track macros. I know I'm not obviously tracking at the moment, but I know some of you still are, which is super handy. So I'll make sure that I get the macros up. So take a look in the description. You'll probably see some links to Holly's recipes. So go and check that out. What else have I been making? We've had pasta with delicious, Parmesan and all the cheeses. We've been out for cocktails, out for steaks. I have been also on a cookie I don't know, a cookie craze, just shall we say. Part of that is in light of a new book that I'm in the process of writing. I was hoping to have it done by now. But this year has just been crazy, like one crazy thing after another. And I wish I could tell you all of the craziness, but I kind of can't. But anyhow, there's been so many things going on, but I'm very close to finishing my book. So I have a new recipe guide. It'll be like a 2024 best of that has like some of my favorite recipes from the last year. And there are many. So I did a little bit of work over that on the weekend, a little bit of work of that over the weekend. And some of that involved cookies. And I know I have been promising you guys this cookie recipe, at least on Instagram stories for a little while. So again, that will go up on my free resources page on my website. And if you want to check in there, often you'll find that there are brand new articles, new recipes going up on there almost weekly. I don't always talk about them on social media. In fact, I'm terrible at doing that. I just don't have a whole lot of time. So keep that in mind if you do need something new and exciting in terms of recipes, or you're looking for some educational material. Go and have a look because I do put that up on my website often. I've also had nachos, so many types of nachos, and surprisingly, you can do a relatively, I guess, high protein, low fat nacho if you're smart with your ingredient selection. So we were doing like pinto beans, black beans for some dietary fiber. I had fire roasted red peppers and crushed tomato. And of course, then you've got your regular salsa, which I've been using the Foddy brand because it doesn't have garlic or onion, which is great for anybody that struggles with IBS. We've been doing fat-free sour cream, I guess plain avocado as like a puree as opposed to the guacamole. Just again, that's got garlic and onion in it, and I cannot tolerate any. It's so frustrating. And then fat-free cheese. We'll do a combination at the moment just because I'm less concerned with calories, but you can do fat-free cream cheese, fat-free cheese, fat-free sour cream, and then if you add like a protein, we did extra lean ground beef last night. Amazing. I think, again, I'll put a picture up. It was really good. And all of these recipes will be going into the 2024 guide too, which is super fun. We've been out and enjoyed like French toast. I had carrot cake. Oh my God, look at this thing. Sorry, this was like last weekend on a Saturday night or something. It was freaking insane. I think it's like a 10-layered carrot cake. It was as good as it looks. And then for Sunday breakfast, we went out and I think maybe we split like salmon French toast on arepas. And then I had some kind of bacon cheese croissant like for breakfast. Oh my God, so good. And then totally, you know, when your eyes are too big for your belly, both of us wanted to have something sweet with our breakfast. So I ordered this brioche style French toast, but it was almost like a baked, I don't know, almost like a pudding. It was so rich. It was so delicious. We had to box the whole thing up because both of us was just sitting there like, I'm so full. So lots of good food consumed. And you know what's freaking insane? Again, just being mindful with portion sizes, listening to my body's hunger cues. I have not gained any additional body fat over the last couple of weeks, despite all those yummy things that I have been describing to you. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here and have a look, I guess, at some of the weigh-in data and then also my training data as well. So last time we chat, I was 142 pounds. And this week, just this morning, as I got on my scale, and it was after breakfast, I was 141.9. So not a whole lot has changed, which again, it just goes to show you that you can maintain a healthy body weight without having to be so diligent in tracking macros, which was something that I didn't believe I even had the capacity to do up until, just a few years ago, as I was almost thrust into not being able to track as I was so busy. So that is really comforting. And I think, like I said, last check-in, the things that I'm focusing on are making sure that I try to get, 3 servings of protein a day, something for breakfast, something for lunch, something for dinner. Like, what is the protein source in that meal? And I try to make sure it's a good portion size of protein. So if it is an animal-based protein, I'm looking at, 4 ounces at least. And then I usually have like some kind of supporting protein. So to give you an example, let's say I made like, I don't know, some kind of like Nando's salad. It would have chicken in it, but then I'd also use like a fat-free or skim cheese to kind of boost it up a little bit more in terms of its protein content. So I have been on average, and again, I haven't tracked any macros, but I would assume that my protein on average is somewhere between 95, which would be at the lower end of what's required for my lean body mass, all the way up to maybe 135 and 140 grams. So it fluctuates quite a bit, and that's okay. There might be some subtle, discrepancies in my energy balance by doing that because of the thermogenic effect of food from protein compared to carbs and fats, if those things are changing around a little bit from, day to day. But ultimately, like, that's not the worst thing at the moment. I don't need to be super shredded and peeled. So, I want to have good energy for my training. I want to feel like I'm motivated to get into the gym. Like, I'm trying to grow a very specific part of my glutes right now on my shoulders. So, like, making sure I've got optimal fuel, adequate fuel, and I'm not going in tired and lethargic, is really important. So I figure as long as I'm hitting my protein, if there are days where my calories are a little bit higher, so it doesn't matter. I can focus on that when I'm going through like an intentional cut for my upcoming competition season. So fiber is another thing I've been focusing on. If I have gone a couple of meals and I'm like, ooh, I have had no veggies today, or I haven't had any fruit or anything that's fibrous, I'm really mindful with my next meal occasion. Okay, what can I make for dinner that's going to be high in fiber, but also taste really good? If I can't figure something out in that particular meal, maybe I don't have the ingredients, then the next day, I'll put something together that I know is going to be a little bit more voluminous and fiber rich. So it's just trying to come up with a bit of balance. So not every day is perfect, that is for sure. I think one of my days, Saturday, which we'll have a look at here in a minute, was literally, I think we went for a massive bike ride, like a 90-minute bike ride. It was such a gorgeous day. I'll pop some video up on the screen for you. I had my bikinis on. It was like, oh my God, the most magical day. So not the middle of summer here in Florida anymore. Thank the Lord. It gets way too hot here. Like, you don't even want to go outside. It's so humid, but it has been perfect. Like low 70s, which for those that are listening from Australia is probably like the low 20s. And you get a bit of sun and it just feels beautiful. So we went out for a massive bike ride, and I think I had a protein bar or half of a protein bar that morning because we were just up and, I think we were unpacking boxes and doing a bit of stuff around the house here. And then we stopped in at this little restaurant that Sam hadn't been to before. It's called Whiskey Joe's. It's been a while since I've been there too. But again, it was such a beautiful, magical day. So we ordered a cocktail. I think I had like a mojito. I can't remember what he got, but so we had a drink. And then by the time we actually get home, it's like 4 p.m. And then he had bought mimosas. So we went out onto the patio. I fixed us up like something little to eat, and we had some mimosas. So on that particular day, I can't remember what we did for dinner. We might have gone out for dinner, but I just know that my fiber would have been like 8 grams or something for the whole day. So like I have those days too, but I'm aware of them. I'm not criticizing or judging myself in the moment. I enjoy it, and then I'm like, okay, well, all right, I had a bit of a wild and wacky day yesterday. Let's kind of move the needle back towards the center, so there is a little bit more balance. So rather than kind of look at that and say, oh, that was a terrible day, that was such a bad day, oh, you ate junk food, or you didn't have anything healthy, I try to avoid, those types of narratives or thoughts and reframe it into, okay, you had a wonderful day, you enjoyed some delicious things, and today I'll make sure that I'm a little bit more focused on the micronutrient content of my foods, or the fiber of my foods, or maybe food diversity in general. Okay, let's introduce a wider variety of things to make sure that I'm kind of hitting all of those important micronutrients. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun the last couple of weeks in terms of food and beverage. So let's look at my data. I'll pop this up on the screen for you too. So, interestingly, I guess 2 weeks ago, so we're doing bi-weekly check-ins, my total weekly energy expenditure had actually dropped down to 2,861 calories to be exact for the entire week. That is quite a bit lower again than what I do when I'm competing. My weekly average energy expenditure when I'm in prep season is like 4,500 to 5,500 calories. There's a lot of movement. There's lots of walking. There's 4 or 5 lifting sessions, and then the occasional HIIT cardio session. So this past week or the week prior was like almost half at 2,800. I don't know what happened to my weight during that time frame because I'm only weighing myself in really like once a week, if that, because it's less important to me at the moment. As long as I'm focusing on quality training sessions, I'm getting in an optimal training volume, I'm trying to minimize stress, get good sleep, eat enough protein, then, I'm doing all the right things. I don't really need to be kind of micromanaging or like obsessing over what my weight is on the scale. So that week was a little bit lighter. My average steps weren't terrible. They came in at 8.6. Again, thinking back to the contrast of what they are like when I'm competing, they're up at 12,000, maybe even 13,000 on certain days, just for that extra movement and extra energy expenditure to help create a deficit. What else can I see from that week? Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I only got 3 resistance training sessions in, but they were great resistance training sessions. And again, I'm going in with the sole focus on the muscle groups I really care about. Glutes, and I divide that pretty evenly between glute maximus and glute minimus or medius. So that's the upper outside, the shelf of your glute. And then you've got the under glute, the glute maximus. So my volume has probably disproportionately favored medius and minimus, but not by a lot. And again, that was just based on some of the feedback from my nationals. So at the Chattanooga Junior Nationals this past year, which is one of the shows that I won. So yeah, I've been really focusing on that and then just getting enough volume in on my shoulders. But I've also noticed I tend to be very trap dominant, which I think so many of us are. It's obviously going to be utilized in any of these movements. It's difficult to not engage your trap. So I've had to go back to like baby weights these last couple of weeks and really play around with angles just to try and find a better way to hit my medial shoulder without also engaging my traps, because I am so prone to that. And if I'm not really concentrating and thinking about it, it's like I may as well just be shrugging it out. So that's been a lot of fun. But outside of those 2 muscle groups, like if I don't get calves in, or if I don't get back or chest in on a particular week, like this week that I'm looking at on the screen at the moment, it's not the end of the world. I got the volume in on the muscles I care about. So all it's going to mean is that the other muscle groups are potentially having less volume in that week. Is it going to contribute to muscle atrophy? Probably not. I'd say that I'm probably still doing a minimal viable volume to kind of hang on and maintain the muscle mass that I have. It'd probably take many, many weeks of detraining or training at this much lower training volume before I would start to see, meaningful losses in lean tissue. But certainly not on the muscle groups that I'm still prioritizing. So that was a slightly lower volume week in total. You can see there my minutes in the gym were only 213, which is kind of slow for me. And then my calories through resistance training were a little bit lower too. So my energy balance, sure, probably moved a little positive that week. And I mean, I can't really recall specifically. I might have gone out for dinner a couple of times and remember thinking, oh, this outfit doesn't fit quite as comfortable as it previously did. And I maybe, see slightly softer arms for a few days. But I'm like, does it really matter? Like if I get back to my normal regimen, I'm training 4 times a week, I get all my walking in, I get some extra cardio, like things move back pretty quickly. So the following week, this last 7-day period was a little bit better. So I did get 5 training sessions in, which is excellent. Like normally I shoot for 4 and I got a 5th one in. So I did a total of 2,100 calories, which you can see here on the screen. I did 383 minutes approximately. I haven't been tracking my volume, and part of the reason for that is I am not stable in a gym at the moment. I think last time I checked in with you guys, I didn't have a membership. I still don't. I've just kind of been doing casual visits here and there, or going in as like a guest pass to some of the gyms. So yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me to track volume at the moment, just because it weighs less value when you aren't looking at a consistent, 6-week training block with the same machines. It's going to afford you the ability to actually see progress on a given exercise. I know that the leg press is completely different between the gym locations. The two Smith machines that I use are completely different between locations. I know false short, the hamstring curl. I mean, there are meaningful differences in those values when I'm, putting the weights on. So I don't track my volume just at the moment while I have that inconsistency. But what does remain solid is that set number per week and the proximity to failure. Those are arguably much, much more important than, having, the minutiae, those little mini details to track every week. Though they can be really exciting if you are somebody that cares a little bit about strength, or, just seeing what your maximum weekly volumes are. I know when I was competitively powerlifting, like I loved seeing, how strong that I could get with, even if it wasn't a powerlifting movement, like let's use the dumbbell RDLs, for example. I would go in and I would rest 3 to 5 minutes for an RDL. Not necessary, but I wanted to see what's the maximum amount of weight that I can lift for 12 repetitions on this movement. So naturally, if you care about strength, you want to rest for 3 or more minutes so that you can lift the heaviest load. But is that detrimental to muscle growth? No, provided that I'm staying in the hypertrophy rep range and I'm training close to failure. The shortened recovery time will mean that I lift less weight, but my muscle is still being successfully activated and fatigued, and that is what signals your muscle to grow. So all of those variables stay very fixed within my training programs. I got some running in this week. Again, such beautiful mornings. We kind of get out before 9 a.m. Otherwise it gets too hot. But that has been fun. No more stacks. I did not eat the pavement this past week, which was a good thing. My bruises and all my wounds have healed, thankfully. And even just this morning, I was out walking again, and the area where I tripped, like I felt myself kind of go down the pathway again. And I'm like, what? They still have not fixed that area. So I guess from all of the hurricanes, the footpaths are so badly beaten up. It's like this the whole way. And on our bike ride on the weekend, we couldn't believe it. I was like, literally entire slabs of concrete have been lifted and moved and sat back down in different areas. And like all the path has been eroded. There was still a lot of debris out on the Courtney Campbell Causeway where we went bike riding on the weekend. It was crazy. I thought that the cleanup would have been done by now, but I guess the council is probably on a pretty strict budget, so I guess they'll fix it when they can. But I got some running in. I got a beautiful bike ride, as I mentioned. That was just glorious. And quite a few walks as well. Obviously not as many as I usually do, only 3 days this week. And that is reflected in my steps. You can see here I'm only doing 7,900, or my average was only 79. There are a couple of busy work days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for me are really tough, and you can see those are my 2 lowest days of movement because I just don't have time to get out and train and or walk. It's either one or the other if I have time. So a little bit lower step counts on those days, but good nonetheless. So I am very happy with how things are kind of plugging along. I think, and maybe you guys can tell me what you think, I will put some videos up on the screen here. I have been working really hard on glutes, like obsessed with glutes. And I think I'm starting to see some positive changes, but it's difficult to determine that when you're in an off season building, because you also have body fat, and you can very easily, like the naked eye, body fat can easily be confused with muscle mass and vice versa. So I think come like end of December, early January, I'm definitely going to go in and have a muscle thickness measurement taken. We have not measured my glutes. Measuring muscle thickness of the glutes using beam mode ultrasound is what is used in research, but MRI is probably a more reliable method to utilize. And it is the gold standard, but it's just not something that's accessible to most universities. To have it in research is extremely expensive. I just haven't had access to that. But I do have access to the beam mode ultrasound. But the lab here at the University of South Florida have not really done glute hypertrophy measurements. And to try and get skilled at measuring specific sites, on a certain muscle group takes hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, like hundreds of hours of practice. So, in these studies that you'll hear about where they're measuring muscle growth, hopefully they use B-mode ultrasound, but it requires a lot of training from a technician. Think about, the amount of training that goes into skin caliper testing. So like to get your, skin caliper license or certification, like you have to, screen probably 300 to 500 people. I can't remember the exact number, and it probably differs person to person or group to group, but either way, then taking it to the next level with like B mode is even more of a skill. It's highly specific. So I think we'll probably end up doing like some testing on me because we do want to do some glute studies in the coming year. So we'll need to get really good at that. But I just wish that I had like baseline data because I could see like what I like actually grew over the last, several weeks, because it's been a few. But I think we can certainly use a combination of like glute circumference with our measuring tape. We'll do regional muscle thickness using B-mode ultrasound, and I will get another DEXA scan. I might see if I can get back on the same DEXA scan that I used last time and just see if, for example, they look at your body as like left and right, lower body, upper body. I would hope that the lower body measurements come back higher. And I would have to assume that if they do, it's because of my glutes, because I haven't really been prioritizing quads. I haven't prioritized hamstrings. I'm just doing maintenance volume, like direct sets on those muscle groups is probably 12, maybe 15 sets max a week. So I don't think that that's enough for me to make meaningful improvements in my muscle. So if the lower body measurement comes back greater, I am putting bets on it that that's probably just glute growth. So, I'm really excited. But I want to talk about my upcoming prep because that is going to be right around the corner. All right, so I'm going to look at a different table right now with you guys so that you can see what, the outline and plan is. Let me see if I can make this a little bit more appropriate for us. There we go, 180%. That's better. All right, so we are currently sitting at... What's the date today? The 18th of November. My goodness. Let me scroll. There we go. So I'm obviously sitting at 141.9 right now. And for me to get on stage and be competitive, I usually sit around 132 or 133. So with that in mind, I wanted to kind of show you how many weeks it probably would take me to get in shape. So you're looking right now, you can see here it says week 53, but that's basically the 1st of January of 2025. So if I started dieting on the 1st of January, it would take me about 11 weeks without any slip-ups, hiccups, life. Get real. It doesn't happen. But it would take me technically, in theory, on paper, 11 weeks to get down to that stage weight. So that would mean if I start January 1st, I'd be ready to hop on stage just around the second week of March, which is kind of cool. It's around my birthday. I actually like competing around my birthday. It's always fun because there's just a lot of momentum and excitement when you compete. It's just cool. So anyway, I don't know what shows are really coming up, at least in the US. I don't know whether the 2025 season has been put out there yet. I think they usually do that in the beginning of the year, but there are a couple of international shows. So they do have the international lineup listed on the IFBB, the pro show lineup. There is a cool show in Dubai, which would be ironic because that was the first place I ever competed internationally and won. But there's the Dubai Muscle Beach show, but that is the 12th of February. So right now, if we are looking at me dieting, that would be week 7 of my fat loss phase. I would still be at 136 pounds according to my calculations. But this is me operating off a very modest weekly rate of weight loss. So I'm trying to lose about 0.8 of a pound every week consistently for the prep. Obviously, it doesn't ever work out perfectly like that, but that's my goal, is to kind of shoot for those numbers because it will help to mitigate lean tissue losses, maximize fat loss, and it makes it easy enough for me to do and still have a sense of life or balance. So that's operating at 0.6% of my body weight per week. But if we go ahead and adjust that and make it closer to 1%, for instance, which is kind of like the maximum that I would shoot for, otherwise it just becomes like obsessive. Way too much calorie restriction, way too much exercise. It's just a lot. And I don't really do this very often with clients either, unless they are in the obese or morbidly obese category. Then there's a little bit more flexibility for that amount of deficit to happen. But for somebody that is normal, healthy body weight and body fat percentage, it's just really tough to operate at those types of weekly targets. So for that reason, I don't do it often. But if I were to operate at 1% of my body weight per week, I could be ready for that show. It's just deciding, like, do I want to do that? It's a lot of investment financially, time, money, hotels, accommodation. So, but I do love Dubai. Like, I love it. I've been there a couple of times now, and it's probably one of my favorite places. So secretly, I would probably go, hopefully do well, and then have an early birthday celebration while I'm there, because it is just a month or just 3 weeks away from my birthday. Then I was looking up, there was another show in Wawan. Now, I'm going to pull it up on the big map for you. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen. I've got a picture here showing the map of the world because I had no idea where this was. And it looks like it is somewhere in Indonesia, or at least off the coast of Thailand. It's the east of Thailand. So we've got Vietnam, we've got Cambodia. It is out there, so it's a little island. So I don't know whether that would be the best show for me to do, considering I've never heard of it. But it is around that time frame, which again is something that is important to me because I want to make sure that I'm peaking, at a reasonable time frame. I also know that we've got the Arnold's coming up in early March, but that is an invitation only show. So I would have to have won a pro show to be invited to the Arnold's, or unless you were like, I don't know, a massive celebrity or something like that, they might invite somebody in that kind of caliber, but that's definitely not me. So I would love to have competed at the Arnold's, but maybe one day. My goal is still the Olympia at the end of 2025. So they just had that recently. Laurelie Chap won. That would be the show that I would love to get to. That's at least my big goal. So yeah, I will have to have a look because I think ultimately my preferred weekly target rate of weight loss would be around this 0.6 to 0.8% of my body weight. It just means that I can still work, actually have a life, and not feel too stressed out and overwhelmed. So yeah, I think sometime in this mid-March would honestly be best. So you can see here, I've just got my numbers up on the screen. If I look to week 63, which would be the 12th of March, that would have me right around this perfect stage weight of 132 pounds. I just have to kind of wait to see what competitions, if any, are around that time. It might mean that I might end up having to wait until later in that first quarter to compete. I just don't know what the show lineup's going to be. So yeah, I was thinking about that. It's going to roll around really quick. I think I have 6 weeks left of really solid training. So yeah, I'm definitely going to continue to focus on glutes, especially glute medius and glute minimus, and keep the caps coming. Everything else, I'm just trying to either maintain or shrink. I will not be upset at all if I lose my chest, if I lose my back, if I lose my biceps and triceps. It will not bother me one little bit. Maybe my metabolism will be bothered a little bit, but honestly, for the purpose of this competition, it's okay. It's fine. I can build that back up in another lifetime. But before I wrap up, let me see if there's anything else that I missed. I don't think so. So I guess what's coming up, we've obviously got all of our sales starting probably sometime midweek this week, all the way through to, I guess it'll be the 1st of December. So we'll almost have 2 full weeks of sales. So we will have sales on all of our products and services. So if you're interested in any of the educational books, recipe guides, if you're interested in the Be a Brain subscription or any of the a la carte articles that you might have seen me talk about on social media, they will all be on sale. We'll be having some discounts on my training app. We'll be having discounts on my coaching. Everything will be on sale for that week. So I will be taking on new clients if anybody is in the mood for a one-on-one coach. I think the holiday season is honestly one of the most challenging time frames. And if we look at all of the data, historically, it's 3 months of the year where we put on most of our body fat and people mostly struggle to get it all off. So it's a very specific period of the year where most of our weight gain takes place. So if you feel like you've struggled in the past with weight gain over the holidays, or just a sense of feeling overwhelmed or anxious and just like lots and lots and lots of crazy thoughts going on because you're just busy and travel is kind of getting the best of you, I would love to help support you through that. It's something that I used to struggle with and it's still difficult, but I think just the years of experience doing this and also being a competitor has really helped me kind of find the best of both worlds. So please don't feel shy in reaching out to ask about coaching. Like I said, we will have some awesome coaching discounts. But I think that's honestly about all for me for this week. So very excited. I've got my new podcast area set up. Obviously, I'm not using any of the special lighting or cameras right now, but we got that built over the weekend. I think it looks so cool. I'm so proud. Like the fact that we did this, like we have a whole grassy wall over here. I don't know what you call this stuff, but it looks so cool. We have like the neon lights. I installed like blackout curtains, which this room did not have. And I will be getting a new camera, and we've got our podcast desk coming up. So now we really just need to get our list of guests refined. So if you've got suggestions, guys, drop them in the comments. And then also we need to come up with like an official name. Sam and I have some ideas, of course. By the way, if you're not familiar with Sam, he is a professor of exercise science at the University of South Florida, and is involved in a lot of research. He runs the research lab that looks at muscle growth. So that is super cool. I'm sure he'll have so much to share and to add to our conversations. I personally have learned a lot from Sam just in the short time that I have known him. So yeah, cannot wait for that. I know we'll have some amazing guests. And maybe people that you don't know. I think people that are actually in research that are not as popular on social media. And I truly believe that the people that are the most intelligent and competent on certain skills and areas and disciplines may not have big social media followings, because they wake up, they live, they eat, they breathe research. There isn't a whole lot of time for socials. So I'm actually really excited to kind of bring some of these unknown faces and people that we should be listening to, because I think there's a lot of noise out there on social media platforms, but I think that the conversations tend to get a little bit one-sided, and there is definitely, I guess, a growing trend of people kind of just jumping in this one basket over here, and then they don't want to hear anything else. It's almost like there are voices that are not being heard. And I think some of these voices are definitely worth listening to. So I can't wait to have those people on. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. If you've got questions about your own training, nutrition, anything at all, please leave me a comment below and I will respond to those in my next week's check-in. Have a great week, guys.